Coming to you from Studio HQ, welcome back for another episode of Sunder Katz. Why Sunder? Because we talk about something different, and why cats is because we're the coolest cats in town. And speaking of cats, I am Dodgy in the mix, mixing it up with Rabbit, Paul Gomez. What's happening?
Dodgy, how's it going? Ready for another week? Ready for another show?
Absolutely. And the main man, Manny himself. What's happening, Manny?
It's all good, man. Ready to rock and roll.
Absolutely. And today's episode, we're going to talk about another publisher that is relatively new as well. I really like talking about new publishers, and that is Ahoy Comics. Ahoy.
Arr.
I had to throw the pirate voice in there. But man, I'm quite excited about today's episode. As I mentioned, Ahoy Comics came out in 2018. Still a relatively new publisher. Go across the board. Rabbit, have you ever checked out or seen Ahoy Comics in your local comic book store?
You know, I don't think I have. After reading these reviews this past week, man, I really wish I had, because yeah.
Well, it can happen, right? You just go into the store, you know what you want, but just sometimes you might get this other publisher that might have a low run, because again, stores need to have sustainable products that need to move. How about you, Manny? Have you been reading or been checking out Ahoy Comics prior to today's episode?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, in one of those I always like to buy different indie comics that I see, especially since I'm involved with the Buy Indie Comics Day. I like to see as many, be exposed as many indie comics as I can. And sometimes it's comics that I have no idea what the publisher is, who the creators are, just to try them out. And one of those trips that I did to my local comic shop, I got my pull list like I always do every Wednesday, and I said, let me look around and see what I find. And I found a few of these books from Ahoy Comics, and I'm like, what is this? And I found actually two of the books that we're gonna talk today, and I found them a few months ago, and I loved them. Both of them, and I'm like, wow, man, this is like top tier Image Marvel quality books all the way around. And then I started, every time I went to the local comic shop, I make it a point to see if they have something new. Yeah, they're extremely high quality, well written. Yeah, I love it. I love Ahoy.
Mm-hmm. And when you bought the books, were you buying like the number ones, or were you just buying any random
I bought the two number ones first. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Good way to start, right? Because kind of getting the intro to the story.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll jump into the content, because I want to talk about the website. So I cannot remember what the website name is. Well, actually, before we do that, sorry, let me talk to our sponsors. Thermon Comic Creations. You're an aspiring comic creator but don't have the tools? Look no further than Thermon Comic Creations. If location is an issue, that is not an issue. And also there are different tiers for different levels of experience, from beginners to more advanced. Check out thermoncomiccreations.com. And Manny, what is October 1st?
Buy Indie Comics Day.
Woo!
Yeah, man.
If you're a creator like the panel here, please reach out to your local comic book store, make an event, celebrate local creators. It's Artist Alley in your LCS. Any growth yet, Manny, in Buy Indie Comics Day?
I mean, I have a few. We have a few people interested. There's a new creator that's I've been in touch with on Twitter, and he just participated from the free comic book day, and in the comic shop that they participated in, he mentioned it to the owner. He mentioned Buy Indie Comics Day to the owner, so they're planning something, and it's in Arizona. So this is a new, but I don't want to put it on the website yet because I want it to be confirmed. But there's a few different places that we've never been as Buy Indie Comics Day. So I'm kind of, I'm excited.
Yeah, I just wonder though how many comic book shops have never heard of Buy Indie Comics Day. I'd love to know that figure.
And it's crazy because in social media it's so difficult. I just did a poll the other day on Instagram on how many people actually saw the content that I post, and there's a huge percentage that don't see it, and they're all in my followers, and I'm like, come on, man, you're killing me, Instagram. Like how do you say, the algorithm? It kills me, man.
Yeah.
And it's not just me, it's everybody, but this is the world we live in.
Exactly. So, guys, just reach out to your local comic book store. Remind them it's Buying the Comics Day, October 1st. Plenty of time yet. Don't leave it till too late. Let's celebrate the indie creators and also your local comic book stores.
Yep.
All right, moving on. Ahoy Comics. The website I think is pretty decent. Rabbit, how did you find navigating the actual website?
I thought it was easy to go through. I mean, it really was. It wasn't too complex or anything like that. I didn't stay on it that long, but I did enjoy finding a few different new titles, and it did really look really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, my gripe though, that the fact that they didn't actually have a store. I wish they did, because I'd love to see what kind of stuff they'd sell. Manny, how did you feel about navigating the website?
It's very straightforward. The website is very straightforward. It's impossible to get lost. It's you know, the when you click on news, it's like everything is really organized, lined up real nice. The titles, there's an extra section that you see all different news and all different articles and stuff like that. It's very, you know, it's very easy to navigate. There's a lot of content in there, and there's a lot of awesome titles that, you know, I think. And you know what's crazy? I didn't even notice that they didn't have a shop.
Yeah,
but yeah, if they don't, that's something they need to. Maybe there's a reason why they don't. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I like how some stores, like some publishers, they have like maybe signed copies for sale, or they'll have T-shirts,
merchandise.
I mean, Jesus Christ! I mean, if only they had the I don't want to talk about the book just yet, but one of the particular titles, I would love to have that on a T-shirt. Like, seriously, I loved it so much. I actually never had so much fun in my life, to be honest. Recently, that is. I had a lot of fun, and we'll go talk about it later. But I like the fact here that we see some comics that are really not being mentioned, except for one, in this little new comic book slide. So definitely worth checking out. Right. I mean, the books are divine. Based on what I've read so far, I absolutely enjoyed myself. And let's talk about submissions as well. They have a disclaimer, like they're not taking any writers, like any content for books. However, they are asking for short stories. And we'll discuss this a little bit later. But what do you guys think? Some of you, Rabbit, being the writer of the group, how did you find seeing that they're taking short stories? And what would you do if you were like someone up and coming that would like to jump on board?
Well, I think it's great that they're taking anything, even though they're not going to take a regular story. Taking short stories are always one of the ways people tell new writers to kind of start. They tell them to start with the shorter stuff and get experience. So the fact that they're taking short stories is a good thing, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because like I said, there's a particular book that it didn't even have comic book pages. Actually had literature. Right. I was quite surprised. I really don't see that a lot, except if you read the book The Watchmen, they really do have their comic book premise, but also have some like short stories that are kind of just pages of text, right?
Yeah.
That it just added emphasis to the story, but it's kind of like a segue, like taking you away from reading a comic book and then you're like reading an actual novel. And I think that was a real treat. And for people who really do want to write, and I mean like you mentioned, Rabbit, they don't really want to take full stories, but this could lead on to a story, right?
Definitely. Definitely. One of the things that a lot of new writers do is do anthologies where they are short stories. So this, again, it's a great way to kind of jump into the pool without jumping into the ocean, if you would.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, most of the times they're not going to give you a full title to try out if you're good or not. They're going to give you a little bit and see, baby steps. Okay, let's see how people react to the short story, and then we'll move on from that.
Right.
Yeah. So I got to say, kudos to Ahoy for doing this, because really you don't get a lot of platforms. I mean, you do get some with 2000 AD, where it's primarily a anthology magazine, and then heavy metal as well. So Ahoy being just a publisher that distributes floppies is kind of intriguing that they do this, and I'm really happy that they are.
Yeah, especially since most companies, writers have to be good to work for the big two or something like that, but there's a lot of who you know.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna mention names, but we know a lot of people that are like under the wing of somebody and somebody. So let's go in, and eventually they get their legs under them. But it's great that Ahoy is giving everybody a shot.
Yeah,
exactly. And my bad, Manny. I mean, let's talk about my bad. Sorry, I throw a really bad pun in there. My Bad is a magazine. Is a book which has numerous writers, but primarily Mark Russell, who's one of the co-founders of Ahoy. Mark Russell, I don't know if you guys have heard of him. He wrote the very popular Snagglepuss from DC when they did the mashup with Hanna-Barbera, as well as the Flintstones, which also got critical praise. So here he is writing a superhero anthology story. All right. Before I jump in, Manny, with My Bad, how did you find the art?
I liked it. Yeah. It's very it's sort of simple. But it's almost like Batman animated series. And also it's a little bit more detailed than the Batman animated, but it's that feel. It's like a blocky characters and stuff like that. But I really loved it. It works well with the story. I love the character designs. It's crazy because as I was reading it, we just read Astro City a few weeks ago, and the characters is basically this new universe with all these crazy characters. And when I was reading this, it's a completely different universe, but I feel like the characters could totally work in either universe because they're so extravagant and crazy. And it made me chuckle. I'm like, yeah, this could totally work. This is really cool.
But what kind of superhero name is a chandelier? Like,
it's so crazy, man. It's so
I'm kidding myself right now talking about the chandelier.
Yeah,
unless it drops is when only time I'm really scared. All right, moving on to you, Rabbit. How did you find the story? So we've got Manny talked about the art. It's very simple. You do have that Astro City vibe to it, but how did you find the writing?
I found the writing pretty good. I thought it was more of a parody to kind of some of the main comics. I love the cartoony style of the art and stuff, but the way the writing was, it was simply unique. I mean, they didn't really kind of jump out of the bounds. They were kind of, hey, this is kind of what we're going after, and we're gonna hit you with the jokes and kind of take a little innuendo here and innuendo there of your favorite characters, and that's what made it so real. It was great because it was such a unique take on what we love.
Yeah,
it's a comic book world. Is it like it doesn't have to be so realistic?
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I really dug the happy birthday story because you've got the man child. I thought
the man child,
like he's a parody of Robin, which is not the case.
See,
that is absolutely not the case.
Was it Robin or the Hulk?
It was the Hulk.
The Hulk, like a combination of both, right?
Yeah.
How he tricks him, like, yeah, I got a gift for you. It's a bomb.
Why are you hiding behind the... I mean, obviously he's super powered enough that the explosion would just give him a bit of a black stain, but it wouldn't have like. But it's just the principle, right? Why didn't you just give me a present and then pretend it's not? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Oh my God.
And you know what's crazy? The whole theme of the chandelier. When I saw the character, I was like, this is so ridiculous, because the outfit is like Batman, but it's the mask that I felt was ridiculous. But when he explained that in the darkness of the city, he is the light, it made me laugh out loud. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I can see it. I can see why he would feel that. But it's so hilarious that he has a chandelier.
And the writing was so unique. It was like it hit you at certain points. my favorite part was whenever he was in the factory talking about how if everybody knew who I was, and they're like, "Oh, we know who you are," like, but nobody knows.
It's great stuff, man. It's great stuff.
Yeah.
With that little bit of hair coming down his forehead, no one knows that he's Superman.
Yeah, like so ridiculous. It's so stupid. Yeah.
But no,
I
I actually thought this was great, and it's and the thing is too, like we've just been introduced to these characters, right? In a way that we kind of know who they are just by what 6 or 8 pages or here, like it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's just great. And the toy ad as well. I didn't share it in here, but I did share it on the group chat. I thought that was pretty hilarious. Like stuff that we're never gonna buy.
It like I said, it was so unique the way they added, the villain on that first story was basically the villain throughout, but you didn't see him in the first story. You just saw the present that he sent. And then throughout, you kind of later on start to meet him and then realize that villain's like going after the accelerator.
Yeah.
And it all ties together.
The accelerator. This was
it's
great.
so great. Yeah.
That's another cool design, the character design.
Yeah. Kind of has that Sinestro look to him. That the pencil mustache. Like, man, I just love that. And I love the fact that they didn't make him look like the Flash. They didn't make him look like Quicksilver.
Yeah,
he's just very different. And he's an alien, and he's very smooth. His powers are very smooth as well. He's got that
like a suave type of sleazeball. I was just gonna say, from the moment I saw him, I was like, I don't like this dude.
and then just how he gets rid of his nemesis, he just takes him into the snow. Just for a moment.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
It was just so unique. Like I said, the way they did it, the way they hit with their punches of jokes, it was perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can see why Mark Russell, I think he's just very, very clever. Just very clever with his punchlines and just how he pieces stories together. This was some other bits. But I honestly thought that I mean there are other stories in there. Like I mentioned before, it's just some one page little sketch or just text, even like a little short story. And that's what we talked about earlier in the episode about the short story submissions. You can get your short stories in this book, and in the title page you will actually get your credits, your world due diligence. So definitely do yourself a favor and check it out. Moving on to the next book. And did you know what, guys? This was actually originally going to be made by DC.
No way.
I could believe it.
It was. And you know why it got canned? It's because of the religious.
Yeah, I knew it. They don't want to get involved with that. Yeah.
And again, it's by Mark Russell with art by Richard Pace. Richard Pace, I've seen that name somewhere else before. Leonard Kirk as a finisher, Andy Troy on colorist, and Rob Steen letterer. And man, like this story was, especially the first bit, it was really, really well made, and this kind of gives some emphasis as to what life could have been for JL, because kind of has that sort of reference, the second son being like Superman, coming from a planet zirconia. Like, isn't zirconia like a fake crystal? Or
it's like a fake
diamond. Yeah, it's a fake diamond. Like, I don't know. I thought that was pretty clever. And I really enjoyed the first part of the story. Going to you, Rabbit, what did you think of Second Coming?
Yeah, again, it was like perfect timing with the jokes, and that just hit you the right way. There wasn't anything that you could really say bad about the timing of everything, and the way they did it. It was simple, but it all worked.
Yeah, and I mean their dinner guest. I mean, seriously, I'm glad I don't have friends like that. I know my parents did when I was young, and I was just sitting there rolling my eyes. But thankfully, I never had friends like that. Otherwise, I think I would not invite them over ever again. How about you, Manny? Have you ever had dinner guests like this before?
I'll reserve judgment on that.
No. Talk about the art. Talk about the art.
No, man, I loved it. The cover is a lot more detailed than the inside of the story. The cover reminded me almost of like a Gary Frank type of style, like sketchy but very detailed. The interior artwork is very good too, but it's more not. I don't want to say it's rushed because it's not. It's just it has less information. It has. How do you say? How can I say it? It's like minimalized art. He gives you enough that all the information that you need is right there. He doesn't overpower you with a lot of lines. It's just whatever is on the page is what you need to see. The coloring on the book is amazing. It works perfect for the line work. Again, they work together perfectly. And I liked it very much. It's crazy because it's funny you say that it wasn't going to be a DC story because it's sort of that similar Superman type of story, but even though it's kind of funny, the relationship with the friends and the parents and how he escapes and all that stuff, it's very down to earth. The dialogue is very down to earth, very very real. When you read it, it's funny, but at the same time, I can see myself saying that. Or when he's actually talking with his boss, and he's telling her, "How can you do this? How could you do this, knowing that I told you what was going to happen?" And she's like, "Yeah, but nothing like that's ever happened. So I didn't believe it was going to happen." And it's so real because that has happened many times. Yeah. In different jobs and like when I work in a ship yard and stuff, they always tell us every day, you gotta be careful because the ship can catch fire, and it's almost like a routine, so repetitive, and you don't believe it. But every year there's a ship that goes up in flames, there's millions of dollars lost, and so it happens. But it's so crazy how they actually show it, and she's like, "I'm sorry," and he's like, "It's too late for this. It's over. We're it's over for us now." So it's crazy because we've seen the stories kind of well. The first part of the story. The second part is like we haven't even gotten to the second part. But the first part of the story is something we kind of seen before, but it's more down to earth, I think, than I've ever read before.
Yeah. In terms of the witty chaos and everything going on, this panel I think was the one that struck me the most. I think this was probably my favorite page in the entire book.
Yeah,
because it showed that the husband's not being believed. His wife thinking he's lying. The world thinks that he's a crazy theorist that has these lunatic agendas, and no one believes him. Just like JL, that no one believed him until Krypton blew up, right?
Yeah,
we're seeing the same thing here. And then his wife is accepting the fact that yes, the end is coming. And this was just a beautiful way of showing that there is some sadness to their eventual demise. It's very beautiful. I thought this scene.
Absolutely.
I thought this one was pretty classic as well. The dinner guest and my beautiful tiara, and obviously the husband of the dinner guest gave the father like a bit of lip, and then she just smashed it. Tiara. I was like clapping. It's just one of those moments you just can't help yourself but feel a little bit joyous in your physical agenda. I was actually clapping when I was reading that. But definitely it's a lot of fun. And you're right, Manny. What did you think about the last part of the story when we actually get to meet Mr. J?
Man, it's so crazy because as soon as I saw him, I know who he is, but I don't think that they explain why he's there. Or
I get that too.
Right? I maybe it's, I don't know, for being like the first issue of the series, I was like, hold on, but okay, I know who that is. And then again, Superman has always been had that Christ complex, or not complex, but people associate him with God because he's a god, whatever. So I think that's what they're doing, but I think they should have. I mean, unless they like, well, how Christ came to earth. But I don't know. He's the second coming, so I would like to see how he came or whatever, like how he became to be. But it's funny because it's like, well, I guess you're getting pregnant, and now I'm gonna be kicked out. Kicking out Jesus. Man, it's so great.
Yeah, I think this is one of the books that you don't really get everything in the first issue, because you got to remember this is only a one issue story. We got a fair bit of the father's origin, before the second coming actually came to Earth. So I thought it was well positioned. I think with a story with Jesus, you probably would understand better in the second issue onwards,
for sure,
or even just get the trade.
Yeah.
But this was a different one.
Yeah.
Edgar Allan Poe's Sniffler of Death. Any of you guys actually Allan Poe fan?
I'm a huge Allan Poe fan.
Okay.
Huge, yeah.
I know of him, but I don't know. No.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same with you, Manny. Not really. I know, quote the Raven, nevermore.
Yeah.
Right.
That's about as far as I know, because I've watched a lot of Simpsons growing up. But so Rabbit, tell me about your love for Edgar Allan Poe. What did you take into this book?
Well, I mean, I there was a lot that I'm a huge Edgar Allan Poe fan. I had a problem reading, and whenever I got to reading his stuff, it was short and sweet and kind of to the point, a little bit dark and a little bit crazed, if you will. But whenever I think of Edgar Allan Poe, I think of the stories that are that hit you really hard at the end, but are mysterious at the beginning. Right. And that's basically what my love for Edgar Allan Poe's stories all were. Some of them were poetry, some of them were longer stories, but I mean, he just had a way with all of his words.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I didn't actually know he was American. I actually thought he was British. You always hear these the writers of the day. I mean, I was truly pleasantly surprised to hear that he was American. So I learned something. I learned something that day. But let's just go through the credits. Mark Russell again as the writer. And this is for the Monster serial. So I actually really enjoyed this. I actually enjoyed this. Probably one of the top stories I read from Ahoy was the vampire being crucified or to be burnt alive, right?
Oh man, I love that story.
Yeah. I love that story so much, and it kind of had that twist. And like, this was the first book I actually read from Ahoy, so just having been introduced to Mark Russell kind of shown you something here. We read his other stories, then reading this one. My goodness, I actually enjoyed it. Go to you, Manny. What did you think of this story?
It's my favorite. Out of the whole book, this is my favorite, man. Everything about it. The artwork is dark, but it's not. It's dark but clear. Like they had a lot of yellows and oranges. The story is a crazy plot twist.
Yeah,
I know, right?
Oh my goodness, man! It's the line. The line work is great because it's again not too simple, not too detailed. It's just perfect. To me it was perfect. It has a lot of darks and shadows, but everything is very clear. Man, this was my favorite by far.
How about you, Rabbit? What did you think of this story, the Monster Serials?
I thought it was great. I think it was whenever you think of Edgar Allan Poe, you think of that story that builds up and with a little bit of mystery, but not exactly knowing where it goes. And then all of a sudden at the end, there's that big twist. And in his tradition, that's kind of what most of his stories were, that big twist at the end. And so whenever you had that Quaker kind of just go up, and instead of
Yeah,
what you were expecting, it's like that's that's what I was waiting on, and that's exactly what it gave me. It hit with that big punch that it needed to, and then the whole time with this writer's humor, it hit so well, but wasn't out of place, and that was the greatest thing about it.
Exactly.
yeah, and yeah, like the twist at the end was just icing on the cake, and
Yeah,
I love that how it wasn't overcomplicated. You didn't really have to know any backstory to it. You just went in and just went with the flow. It was so well placed together. And
Yeah.
then we'll look at Evermore by Stuart Moore.
Yeah.
Evermore, Stuart Moore, with art by Frank Camuso. It has a very chibi-ish or even Mr. Bean animated kind of feel to it. Manny, what do you think about the art in Evermore?
Yeah, I was fantastic. It's very like animated, very cartoony, but the story is even though it's super cartoony and funny, is crazy because it's almost like a origin story.
yeah,
I'm not sure if that's really how it happened that Edgar Allan Poe started going to this grown up, pubs and ale houses and stuff when he was a
Telling
kid and
stories.
started telling stories and stuff. That's probably a made up story, but it works for the story.
yeah.
It's very interesting how he goes and wins the hearts of all these
Drunks.
quote
Yeah.
unquote evil people, hooligans, and they look at him like who's this runt, and he basically with his wordsmanship he wins them over. It's so it's such a simple fun story, man. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Mm. Yeah, and how about you, Rabbit? Again, being an Edgar Allan Poe fan, how did you find this in terms of linking the character, like the person, to this character?
I think Manny hit the nail on the head. It was simple and it was fun. It really kind of delved into his one of his greater known poets poems, and kind of entranced the people with his words. And that's really what Edgar Allan Poe's work was his words just kind of leaping off the page and hooking you in, but then still like making you feel dark inside, even though
Mm.
you were entranced by what he was writing. So I think it really did him justice. I loved it.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice, nice. Yeah, I thought it was very clever. And I mean, if it were a case of him, just his creativity got him through life. But I did hear down the track that he was a pure writer. That was his only profession, and he lived in an immense poverty because of the fact that you imagine being a creator and your books are not being published.
Right.
I mean, if
Yeah.
you look at his family estate now, they'd be pretty well off. But when he was writing at the time, he wasn't well off at all. Like, but again, it's his passion that got him through life. He just loved his art. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He loved what he was doing that got him through life. But definitely intriguing. And I learned a lot from this. I got to say, thank you, Ahoy Comics, for this. But I mean, it was nice to have. We had like a superhero type book, and then we get a horror book like this. No, it's pretty great.
Yeah.
The next book, though, I've got to say, was my personal favorite, and that is A Wrong Earth Day and Night and Day. Um, I got to say, I had so much fun reading this. Probably more fun than I've had in a while because I didn't really know what I was jumping into. I thought I was just jumping into another superhero book. It's written by Tom Payer. Tom Payer is actually another co-creator of Ahoy Comics. Pencils by Jamar Eigel, Juan Castro on inks. Andy Troy colors again. Andy Troy was the colorist for Second Coming, and Rob Steen on letters. Jump to you, Rabbit. What did you think of The Wrong Earth?
Now, The Wrong Earth, the story really was a little more complex than any of the other ones. I thought it was really good, well written, solid foundation, and the way they used the characters, the mirror side of them, it was really really great. The complimentary to both sides that it did. It engulfed you and it made you think. So I mean, I they didn't do any wrong with this book.
No, definitely not. it kind of was like switching between, say, Adam West going to the Dark Knight's realm.
Right.
And then you're having Dark Knight go into the 66 Batman realm. That would have been... I just wish that happened, right?
Man,
I wish that happened.
You said exactly what I was gonna say. It's so, man, we're...
I'm sorry, bro. I'm so
no,
sorry.
it's cool. It's cool because that means we're on the right path. Because that's exactly what I thought in the beginning. I was like, yeah, this is like if Thomas Wayne, Thomas Wayne went to the 66 Batman, and then Adam West went to the... It's like, wait, we don't kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. What is it? I was like, wow, this is so crazy. But yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Adam West will be like this.
It's my world, it's my rules. Yeah.
Evil hooligans.
Holy sword pants, Batman. What's that?
And you know what? That's where you see the difference. Really, really, you can really notice it with the sidekick, because one sidekick is literally Robin, and the other sidekick is Jason Todd.
Jason Todd, yeah.
And you notice that he was what's his name? Stinger, right? Was it Stinger?
Stinger, yeah.
Yeah, it was Stinger number 2.
Yeah.
So it means Stinger number 1 got killed. He died in action. So Stinger number 2 actually took his place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
and if you think about, well, let me see. Yeah, if you think about it, Robin number 1 was Dick Grayson. Robin number 2 was Jason Todd.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Too. No, but I actually like. The thing is, though, they're not really going in there and like they're still being themselves.
Yeah.
So you see Dragonfly Man in the 66 realm. We'll just use that as a way to explain. He's going in and he's just a bit more aggressive, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then Robin is still Robin. He's not changing who he is. And he will still tell tell Dragonfly Man that he's doing something wrong. He won't go in and just say, hey, what the hell are you doing? He'll be like, man, like, that's not how we do things here. Mm-hmm. I like that. I actually really thought that was a way of setting it straight.
Yeah.
But I mean, this was so well made.
Yeah.
I had so much fun reading this. I was shocked.
Yeah. What about the villain? I think, what is it called? The Amish man? What do you call? How did he call the villain?
It was
the settler or something like that. It's so crazy. Oh God, he's gonna put him in purified water.
Because you know how dragonflies and insects don't like water. Okay, yeah, the rooftop hideout of Pilgrim Progress. Oh yeah, sorry, it's a Pilgrim Progress is the name of the villainous gang. Oh God. And the Plymouth Mob. Woof!
Yeah.
Whoa,
that's where Dragonfly is telling Stinger, all right, we're gonna have to do this thing that I'm gonna have to end up killing all these people.
Yeah.
And he's like, ha ha ha, yeah, you're joking, right? Yeah, I get it. He's like, no, this is the only way. And he's like, you can never do that. We don't kill people. And that's what you see they like, okay, see, yeah, this is really I'm in the wrong place. I'm in the wrong place. Yeah, it was cool.
But and then you see Lady Dragonfly Man, and then he's like, oh, I really have a reason to be here now.
and then how ridiculous, like Lady Dragonfly Man. Just call her Lady Dragonfly,
right?
But they do it on purpose.
Yeah, they do. It's just taking the piss.
Yeah,
and I mean, yeah,
man, they did a great job with this book, I swear.
Yeah, and the way they do Dragonfly Man in the dark realm or the dark world that he's in, I like the fact that he's actually educating Stinger number 2 as well. So he's not just going in there being confused. He's like saying, "Hey, look, I understand you like using guns, but let's think about this a bit more. And I like that. It is, it's the two characters are still trying to be the leader of that particular world they're in, even if it doesn't belong to them. And I think it's just so well made.
Yeah, and it's since we're using the Adam West reference, just so the listeners can understand who we're talking about. Is when we saw the Adam West Batman fighting or the villains, he wasn't a dummy. No. He was more campy in a way, but he always managed to outsmart the villains. Mm-hmm. So Dragonfly is basically doing the same thing. He's just because he don't kill people doesn't mean he's a fool. No, he's not a coward either. Exactly.
He's not a coward, even though the world's a very different place.
Right.
And I just loved it, just him and the chemistry with him and Stinger number 2, because Stinger 2 is probably his Dragonfly man isn't really the one who will be coaching him or guiding him like father or son type of thing. He's more about, let's just go out there and kick some butt, get it done. Yeah. Whereas he's like, whoa, hang on a second. Don't do this. In a way that a father would talk to his son, giving him guidance. And I think that Stinger 2 is probably like learning from that, going, oh, okay, I appreciate that. I appreciate the feedback, because he probably never got it with his original Dragonfly man. So I honestly think that this was my favorite book in the whole lot. I think this is probably the indie book I've just stumbled across that I've didn't think I needed in my life, but I actually do need it a lot.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Yeah. So I just want to give a massive shout out to Tom Pyer, because seriously, Tom, you've done an amazing job, and I really enjoyed this. And any of you who've really looking for something different, and if you're a Batman fan, you would really enjoy this too.
You would love this. You will love this for sure.
Yeah. And I have no grievances against, what's the word I'm trying to use, like satire, using a bit of satire with existing characters but a different format. You've seen it more and more these days with The Boys, even Invincible. You're seeing more of these people who are measured against or carbon copy of, say, Batman or a Superman. I have no problem with that. It's just giving us readership to stuff that we won't get from the big two, right?
Right. It's giving you a breath of fresh air. As a matter of fact, if you look at the big two, on DC, they're still doing the different Earths and different Batman. So this kind of just falls right there into that place. I mean, it really was great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's the best of both worlds. This is just taking inspiration, but if you think about it, the Batman stories that they usually tell in DC right now are darker in tone.
Yeah.
This gives you the best of both worlds. I mean, if you're just looking at the space, this looks like you're watching the 66 Batman series.
Yeah.
With the giant contraption and the giant control. I mean, how can you not love this? Seriously. Whoever the character is, and just let me just say this. Just because we're comparing it to the Batman or whatever, this is so well written that you will love it. It's very, very well written.
Yeah. And I love how they're in like in a little zipper bag.
It's like a mesh, like a
tea bag.
Like a tea bag because of the Boston Tea Party.
Yes. And the Plymouth Mob. I'm not sure if Plymouth is in Boston, but no, I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Oh, what a good call out, Manny. Seriously.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really enjoyed this. I dug it a lot, and
no doubt.
I would definitely recommend this. Being a Batman fan, I just absolutely loved it.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, yeah. Here we go. What's he saying here? Yeah, killing people again, showing his frustration. He's in a world where people are killing each other more freely, and that's against his morals. He does not kill people. And
it was them or me.
Exactly.
How Punisher of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. But you're right, he's more of a Jason Todd type of character. But I did like the fact though that his wings really got Stinger 2's Yeah, he could catch the bullets.
Because he's super sticky flight.
But even still, it's like it's effective. Like it worked.
Man,
It might make his wings a bit heavy, but
he was awesome. Look, when I first saw that drawing, I was like, why are the bullets just hanging around him? And when he said that, literally busting out laughing.
Yeah, no, it was great.
That was smart. That was so clever.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No, but I mean, seriously, I think Ahoy Comics, as I mentioned before, is a publisher that is severely underrated.
Yes.
Like Manny, what were your major call-outs when you just checked out these books? Why Ahoy Comics?
Man, just the quality of them. Like there's no
shortcuts.
There's no flaws. There's no flaws because you're not gonna like every artwork. You're not gonna like every story in any company, but in each of these books, you cannot say, like you say, they took no shortcuts. They didn't slack on anything. The styles may be different, the stories may be different, but they're all great stories. The artwork is all great. The lettering is well done. It's man. They have nothing to envy from any other publisher out there.
And there's a lot out there that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, in every book they do have a short story. So every book has a short story at the tail end, and they're fully credited as well. So they're not just a throw in that's just thrown in there. They're actually credited in the credits page. So full credit to the creators. So go on, Rabbit.
And all their stories are very unique, very well timed with all the jokes and hit you at the right timing. That's one of the things a lot of people don't have, especially writers. They try to hit you with too much or too little jokes, and then storytelling kind of drifts off. But all of these books kind of hit like every cylinder at the right time. It was so unique and so simple that you didn't notice that the flow was just gradual throughout. It really was just good storytelling.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of your favorite books, I already know mine. Manny, what was your favorite story or your favorite book that we talked about today?
Mine was let's look back. It was Second Coming. We talk about Second Coming, My Bad, The Wrong Earth,
and Edgar Allan Poe's.
And Edgar Allan Poe. Man, it's hard to choose, man.
It really is. It really is hard to choose.
Damn, I'm gonna say. Damn, I'm gonna say The Wrong Earth. I'm gonna say The Wrong Earth was my favorite. Yeah.
They're all great. They're all great. So I'm not saying that I'm choosing one because the others are rubbish. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
Quality books that we chose, and my favorite is Wrong Earth. Rabbit, what was your favorite? I'm not throwing you on the spot here.
No, I'm actually going to go a little bit against the grain here. They were all great. Every one of them had, I mean, very highs on every one of the stories. I love the Edgar Allan Poe because I'm a huge Edgar Allan Poe fan, but I'm going to choose actually My Bad because it had so many great stories, so many short stories, and they all fit so well. Like I said, it introduced that villain with
that was
the
clever
package and then drew him out throughout all the other stories in there, and then introduced all these other characters, including the highway hero.
Rush Hour.
Rush Hour. He was trapped in that trap, and he's like, "Oh, I can't let you out until stage 16 or whatever." And he's like, "What?"
And then he said, "Oh, you're kind of cool. I'm sorry, but I don't have an opening for this trap. You're gonna die."
Because I thought Accelerator would use his mind trick on, and the story in all these short stories just kind of blended in so well that my favorite had to be My Bad.
That's what I went with the Wrong Earth, but I was debating on that one on My Bad, and it's crazy because when I first saw the cover, I was like, I don't know if this is for me. and again, the characters are so, it's like ridiculous. Like the chandelier is it's so out there. You're like, I mean, what the hell? But when you start reading, you're like, oh man, this is so
Yeah.
It's so
The
dope.
reason for his name is what got me. Is like, you're right. He lights up the city like.
Yeah. He's so clever, man. Yeah.
I mean, if he is jumping out on top of villains, it'll be like a bunch of chandeliers landing on you. Like, I'd be shitting myself.
But it's crazy because like we talked about, the stories are great. They may be lighthearted and stuff, but they're great. So the way I see it is like, we get, like, for example, I read a lot of Spawn, I read a lot of horror books and stuff. Yeah. And sometimes it gets to be too much. Like the King Spawn story, right? It's about killing kids and all this stuff. So it gets too heavy sometimes. I need something other than just horror and killing all the time. Yeah. So I pick up a book like this, lightens me up. All right, back to the blood and gush, and then get another cool, lighthearted book. That's the way, it's the spice of life. Is
And I think different things. It's really hard to put humor in a book. I think a lot of people try and miss a lot of the times. There's a very few that are really good. All four of these were amazing at punchlines and where to tell the jokes, but where to keep the stories, and you just don't find that often.
No. And it's so many like little details, like we were talking about with Lady Dragonfly Man. It's something so simple and so silly, and it just makes you laugh. You're like, because how can you not miss it? How can you miss it? Like, Lady Dragonfly Man. I mean,
man child.
Like she Batman. What are you talking about?
The thing I love about Man Child, his clothes are so big. Then you see why. I thought he was a man child because he's a child wearing men's clothes. And he was too small. And then once he grows, then you go like, I see.
Yeah.
It's so funny, man. Yeah. I would
love to see this as a movie because I just want to see an actor.
Oh my god!
A normal actor wearing like the huge clothes.
And this
in a position like on the green screen to look smaller than everyone else.
I kept imagining. Is it Dave Foley? Is that his name? That's who I kept imagining. With what's his?
Who, Mankind?
No, Manchild. It's like Dave. I forget his last name.
Who?
He was a Saturday Night Live guy.
Oh,
David Spade.
David Spade.
I kept seeing him as Manchild, and then
and just the way he talked as well. Oh my gosh!
Manchild in man clothes.
Yeah.
Man, every time I saw that, yeah.
And then he grows to like normal size when he's angry.
Luke Farine.
Yeah.
Oh, and he's still got the mustache and the blonde hair. I love that. Like, it was just so clever. And look, guys, I hope you enjoyed the content we're sharing with you, and we really want you to go in and read Ahoy Comics. I think it really is a pleasure for people with a strong literature background, like people who really like to read. Like some people read novels and read comic books at the same time. I think you'll get a little bit of a mesh up here because there are short stories. Yeah. And again, I think it goes back to the submissions page that we mentioned earlier, is that I believe a lot of these short stories that we did see in these books came from the submissions page. I think these are people who just wrote poems and or just wrote something that would fit in cohesively into these books, and I think you'll really enjoy it. And I mean, like we had a really, really good laugh, but these books, I've got to tell you, these are not silly. These books are not silly. We're not reading anything overly campy. And I think Mark Russell is a master. I think he's a master of creating humor in a story, whereas it's not all about humor. Like, you don't see it and think it's funny. When you start reading it, and then you just laugh because
we're laughing, but we're not making fun of it. We're laughing at how clever it is.
Yeah.
How he can put comedy in there in places where you wouldn't think, and you're like, man, this guy is too damn funny, man. He's brilliant, man. Seriously.
Yeah, and Tom Pryor as well. I think his ability he doesn't really. I don't think it's as funny as Mark Russell, but it's still funny in the sense that we've got two different worlds we're looking at, and it's just great. I absolutely loved it. I loved Wrong Earth, and I think anyone who's a Batman fan would really enjoy this.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Any final words, fellas, before we wrap up?
Paul, you have the floor.
Just enjoy whatever you buy. Check out new comics because you never know what you're going to find. These were amazing. If you find them at your comic book store, pick them up. Pick them up.
Preach. All right, guys. It's that time. Sunder Katz.
Oh! We got it.
We nailed it.
Thank you. We hope you've enjoyed this Comic Crusaders production. For real-time news on all things pop culture, please feel free to follow us on social media. For articles, original content, merchandise, and more, please go to www.comiccrusaders.shop. Also follow along with all of the websites in the Comic Crusaders family. As always, if you like this content, please click like and subscribe to the Comic Crusaders YouTube channel.